Hello everybody, welcome to MR classes. Today's topic of discussion is British Constitution, its characteristics. The British Constitution has a long history in its own. It started its journey in 1215 with signing of Magna Carta by King John, passing through many acts, inventions, treaties, and most importantly, it's still continuing. So the British Constitution is the oldest constitution in the world among all 193 functioning written and unwritten constitution. So you can see the list of 5 oldest constitutions here. UK 1215, USA 1789, Norway 1814, Belgium 1831, New Zealand 1852. So the age of UK Constitution is more than 800 and USA 230 years. More interestingly, the gap between the US and UK Constitution is of 575 years. This is a huge gap. An average age of all constitution in the world is just 45 years, and the age of UK Constitution is more than 800 years. The second characteristic is the unwritten constitution. There are 2 types of constitution in the world. One is written constitution, another one is unwritten constitution. So what is written constitution? A written constitution is a formal document defining the nature of the constitutional settlement, the rules that govern the political system, and the rights of citizens and the governments in a codified form. Now, what is the unwritten constitution? A unwritten constitution where constitution not codified as a single document but defined by customs and precedents as embodied in statutes and judicial decisions. Most of the countries in the world have written constitution. Only 3 countries, there are United Kingdom, New Zealand, Israel have unwritten constitution. So question arises here, then why Kingdom adopted unwritten constitution? There are mainly 2 reasons. First and most important reason is that most of the countries have their constitutions at the constitutional moments, independence or revolutions or break from a past. As USA when broke from Britain, Germany after World War, in India after independence from Britain. So they had to start their new journey. But Britain did not face such situations. So its constitution evolved through a long period of time. And second reason, when Parliament is sovereign, supreme, can do anything, so no point to have a written constitution. So what are the advantages to have unwritten constitution? So the dynamic constitution is a flexible constitution, which is another feature of British Constitution. Easy to change, amend the constitution. So often it is described as a living constitution because it evolves and adapts to reflect the changing attitudes and keeps it up to date, as Parliament requires a simple majority in the House for amending the constitution. And third reason, who and which group of the people will write the constitution? To select that group is a quite difficult task. So it is better to have unwritten constitution. An unwritten constitution leads to establishment of Supreme Court which interprets the constitution. So courts will be more powerful, which will reduce democratic identity of Britain. So what are the disadvantages of having unwritten constitution? Since UK does not have a single document as constitution, it comprises of many sources which makes it less accessible, transparent and intelligent. Possible conflict between branches of the government, the legislature, executive and judiciary, because their power is not clearly defined, and flexible nature of uncodified constitution may lead to multiple interpretation. Civil rights could be easily abolished. There may be frequent amendments without public debate or public knowledge. Another important characteristic and feature is rule of law. So what is the rule of law? According to great academic thinker A.V. Desai, the doctrine of rule of law could be summarized in three main statements. There should be an absence of arbitrary power. There should be an equal subjection of all citizens before the ordinary law. Basic principle of rights of individuals can be derived from the decisions of ordinary courts. So it is important to note down that what are the sources of British Constitution. There are many sources, and most important source is constitutional statutes. There are a large number of sources of constitutional law. These are acts of parliament which are indeed written. Generally, these acts are considered highest form of law and enforceable in courts of law in Great Britain, as Bill of Rights of 1689, Act of Union with Scotland 1707. Second source of British Constitution is common law. These laws developed by courts and judges through various cases, as Converge versus Home Office of 1976. Third source of constitution is constitutional conventions. These are customs, historical practices which are basically unwritten, developed over a period of time. These are legally not enforceable. One of the best example of constitutional convention is Prime Minister is a leader of party or coalition with majority in the House of Commons, and ministers is bound by collective and individual responsibility. Another source is works of authority. So these are books written by constitutional theorists that are considered to be authoritative guides to the UK Constitution. There are three books. These are A.V. Desai's book, An Introduction to the Study of the Law of the Constitution; Bagehot's book, The English Constitution; Erskine May's book, Treatise on the Law, Privileges, Proceedings and Usage of Parliament. And another was Treaties and Laws of European Union, were source of US Constitution by European Community Act 1976, Single European Act 1992. But it was when UK left European Union by passing through an act was European Union Withdrawal Agreement Act 2020, is famously known as Brexit. So now these treaties and laws of European Union are no more source of constitution. So next characteristic and most important characteristic is parliamentary supremacy and sovereignty. In most of the countries the constitution is supreme, but United Kingdom Parliament is supreme and sovereign because it has unlimited legislative power. There is absence of any competitive power to Parliament. Parliament Act 1911 made House of Commons more powerful than House of Lords. Parliamentary sovereignty is defining principle of British Constitution. British Constitution can be summed up in just 8 words. These 8 words are: what the Queen in Parliament enacts is law. This means Parliament, using the power of Crown, enacts law which no authority can challenge. Parliament is at once legislative and constituted assembly. So Jean Lawes is an 18th century political thinker, rightly says Parliament can do anything it likes except turn a man into a woman and a woman into a man. It has a limited monarchy. Head of the state is constitutional monarchy, is a titular head. All actions are done by head of the government on the name of the crown. Another characteristic is a parliamentary form of government. There are 2 forms of government in democratic countries. Is a presidential form of government and is a parliamentary form of government. In parliamentary system, executive derives its democratic legitimacy from its ability to command the confidence of Parliament and it's accountable to it. Head of government is distinct from head of the state. So in Britain, Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister is real executive and accountable to the House of Commons. It rules until it enjoys the confidence of the House of the Commons. So another characteristic is bicameral legislature. British Parliament comprises of two houses, House of Commons and House of Lords and Crown. It has two houses of Parliament, House of Lords and House of Commons. House of Lords is upper house of Parliament. Its size is not fixed, but now it has 793 members, highest members in any upper house in the world. As top 5 upper houses are UK 793, France 348, Italy 321, Morocco 270, Spain 257. House of Commons is a lower house. It consists of 650 members. It's powerful house, lower house. It is 4th largest lower house in the world. As top 5 is there. China 2980, Germany 709, North Korea 687, UK 650, Italy 630. Two houses of Parliament was set up in 17th century. Other countries as USA, Australia, Canada, Brazil, Germany, India and many other countries have adopted cameralism of Britain. So another characteristic is unitary form of government. There is unitary form of government in United Kingdom. Unitary government is a government in which the powers are concentrated in the hands of central government. There may be local governments, but they are not free from control of central government. United Kingdom, Bangladesh, France and many countries have unitary form of government. Today, 166 out of 193 UN member countries have unitary form of government. In the UK, some powers have been devolved to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And judiciary system has been different in United Kingdom. House of Lords had been working as final judicial authority for more than 600 years. But Constitutional Reforms Act 2005 has paved the way for establishment of Supreme Court, and it happened on 1st October 2009. Supreme Court consists of 12 judges, 1 president, 1 vice president and 10 other judges. Since United Kingdom has parliamentary sovereignty, Supreme Court had limited power of judicial review. It cannot overturn primary legislation made by Parliament. It can only overturn secondary legislation if it finds to be an ultra virus. Even though the British Constitution is oldest constitution and more than 800-year-old constitution in the world, but its Supreme Court is youngest in the world. The list of 5 youngest Supreme Court is here. United Kingdom in 2009, Maldives 2008, Bhutan and 2005, New Zealand in 2004. So what are the influences the British Constitution made on other constitutions? Even though British Constitution is unwritten one, its constitutional laws, political system influenced many constitutions in the world. For example, bicameralism is a bicameral legislature. 84 countries followed Britain to have 2 houses of parliament. British Parliament is called mother of all parliaments. More than 50 countries followed Britain to have parliamentary system of government. Constitutional monarchy, head of a state, distinct from head of government, rule of law, etc., influence most of the democratic countries in drafting their constitution as India, USA, Canada, Australia. This is the end of my lecture. If you like my lecture, please like and subscribe MR classes. Thank you very much for your patience.